I'm back with another video for you today, and today I'm talking about my experience at NOTES Shanghai. So I attended NOTES Shanghai, which takes place twice a year, and I believe I attended the fourth event, which just happened middle of last month, October. And I actually went there and then decided to stay behind and explore China a bit, since it's a long way to travel there, and I wouldn't know if I was going to have another opportunity to visit China. I'm sure I will in the future. But I stayed behind. I was there for about 3 weeks. I got back, I got a little sick, but I'm now doing a video of my experience there. So it's a 4-day event, and I was blown away at how great the event was. Actually, this is only their fourth. At least this is what I found out. This is their fourth event, happens twice a year. Let me know if we met. I meet so many people. People come up to me and say hi, and also take photos with me. I never see the photos, by the way. So if we met, let me know, add a comment below. But it was a great show. I really enjoyed it. It was pretty big, I thought. I thought it was a pretty big show. And it had 2 floors, but in this major, giant venue that was many floors high. And of course, the upstairs floor had all the fragrances. And there was another floor downstairs that had more like beauty. So I visited some of the beauty stuff, but I spent most of my time upstairs. But outside of the main trade show, there were 4 different experiences that I really, really enjoyed. First of all was the Givaudan Haute Perfumerie setup. So this was a really amazing setup with classic fragrances and highlighting all of the Givaudan perfumers. So it was all set up like a maze of like a museum, and you'd go through and smell fragrances, existing fragrances from a long time ago or more modern ones, and got to experience some really awesome fragrances during my time at this little exhibit that was outside of where the main perfume exhibitors were. So that was kind of a highlight for me, and really enjoyable to experience that and see and smell some of the fragrances that I've known for a long time, or since probably from a few years ago, and also get to smell them and put my nose on them. So that was a highlight for me outside of the fragrances. And what I'm going to do in this video is smell fragrances for you that I brought back. So I'm going to show you some, fragrances and their bottles. They're not all necessarily Chinese brands. We've got Korean brands and Western brands as well. But I've got a nice selection. They were all different brands exhibiting. So a lot of Chinese brands for sure, a lot. There were Korean brands, and of course Italian and French brands, and a lot of different brands all, mixed together. And I felt like they kind of did it like Petit Fragranza, whereas they would have a company or a distributor or a retailer displaying some fragrances that they work with or brands they work with and things like that. Or they had the Chinese brands or the other brands, like État Libre d'Orange was there by themselves, Bon Parfumeur was there by themselves. There was obvious Parfums by themselves. Many, many, many different brands, all there. But then there was also a section set up by NEZ, N-E-Z, the NEZ magazine, and they brought like 10 or 15 brands, and they had them in one section in, stands, and they were exhibiting there with their fragrances as well. And there they had Oman Luxury, they had many brands. I'm drawing a blank with some of the brands right now. It'll come to me though, because I've got way too many brands on my mind. But one of the highlights early on at the first day was that Givaudan Haute Perfumerie museum-like stand, which I spent probably about 20 to 30 minutes there walking through and smelling fragrances. After that, I got to visit an exhibit by Firmenich, DSM-Firmenich, called House of Musk exhibit. This was also really, really great. I'm a big fan of musk fragrances. And so there I got to go through various types of musks, and they were all created by DSM-Firmenich perfumers, and they're basically their interpretation of musks and things like that. But prior to that, you had all the different kinds of musks available. You can smell them and things like that. So that was also a really, really great exhibit. And it's basically kind of like a maze. You go through little displays, and there's little cups and things where they display some scents, and you can smell them and, you know, experience them by reading about them. So that was also a really, really wonderful exhibit. And I kind of like these more educational experiences outside of, you know, constantly smelling brands over and over again, because there's a lot of brands out there. I don't know how many brands there were there, but probably maybe close to 150 brands. And again, the brands are not individual. Some are, but there would be a booth that had probably 15 brands. And it's more like a retail establishment setup, whereas maybe a retailer or a distributor or an agent brings in a lot of the fragrances from the different brand, their portfolio, and displays them like a store. So that was kind of cool as well. On the second day, the very morning, I went to the Osmothèque room. So they were in a separate room, out kind of also away, like the Givaudan Haute Perfumerie and the Musk, the House of Musk exhibit by DSM-Firmenich. But I've been wanting to go to Versailles to visit Osmothèque for a long time. I just haven't had a chance to do it, because when I go to Paris, I'm like, you know, I'm only there for like 3 days, at the most 5 days, and you spend it all within Paris. But Versailles is not too far away. You have to take a train to go there. So I've been wanting to go there, but it was great to experience the Osmothèque. You know, they brought a lot of fragrances, historic and classic fragrances, to the show, Notes Shanghai. And you had fragrances reinterpreted from formulas way back in Egyptian times to some of the most amazing classics that, you know, launched 100 years ago, 150 years ago. They had them there, and they were with their original formulas redone just for educational purposes. So that was also really amazing. I probably want to do something with the Osmothèque sometime in the future. Let me know if you guys want something like that, to see something like that. We'll do it eventually. But I do like, you know, I do like to balance out my experiences at these shows, whereas you can kind of, you know, balance it out with a lot of brands and discovering new fragrances, and also something more educational. The last thing before we start smelling fragrances was the Osmanthus exhibit. It was a big exhibit, just like the previous ones, and they were kind of like mazes, and you'd walk through, and the Osmanthus was highlighting a lot of popular and also very underrated Osmanthus fragrances. So this was really, really great to experience and see. And Osmanthus is honestly, I guess Osmanthus is a thing in Shanghai. It grows, but from what I remember hearing, I don't know much about this flower, which is also consumed as a tea. And if you don't know much about Osmanthus, it's a apricot-y, stone fruity smell. So it's usually fruity in fragrances. It's a fruity floral kind of experience, but the opposite side of it, the fruitiness, the fruity floral qualities, there's a leathery side to it that I don't care for. So I don't know. I love leather, but I kind of don't like the leather from Osmanthus. So when they bring out the leather in the Osmanthus, I don't care for it. I like more of its fruity side. But apparently it's prominently grown in Shanghai. And of course, they mentioned, I thought it would bloom in the heat, because when we landed in Shanghai, it was so hot and humid. The next day it got cool, and it got really cool by the end of my time there. But apparently it comes out when it's cooler, like in the autumn, when there's no more heat and humidity, which to me kind of seems strange, but flowers are different everywhere. So I always think that flowers bloom more in the heat. So I didn't experience the flowers themselves, unfortunately, but this booth was really, really awesome to experience all the different Osmanthus focused fragrances. So those were kind of highlights outside of the brands. If you want to find out more about brands, I'm also going to post a lot of the highlights for each day on posts on Instagram. But what I'm going to do here is go over some of the fragrances that I brought back with me so that I can show you exactly some of the fragrances that were discoveries for me at the show, so you get an idea of some of the fragrances. Again, some of these brands are not Chinese or Asian brands, they're Western brands, but some are. The first thing I'm gonna do is start with this fragrance. I believe the brand is called SEPT NEUF, and this fragrance is called Bahang. So, okay, so at the Osmanthus exhibit, one of these bottles was there and I fell in love with it. So I had a guide that was walking with me. She told me that the brand is over there. Let's go see the brand. And I did. And I love the bottles so much that I bought 3 of these fragrances. They're not big. It's only 7.9 ml bottle. But the bottles themselves are so beautiful. So I bought 2 to gift to fam. They were also not that expensive, by the way. The only thing is this smells like a familiar fragrance, and I'll let you guys know about it in a minute. But I think the 3 bottles exactly like this cost me, I don't know, not even $100. But let me show you the bottle. I don't want it to fall. It's a beautiful bottle. But again, it's a 7.9 ml bottle. So this looks like a derivative of something like Portrait of a Lady. It's a spicy, rosy fragrance. Yeah. Super gorgeous. And if you ever make it to China, okay, I've traveled now to China and Japan. My time in China, I ran into so many perfume shops versus Japan, hardly any. So that's how serious the Chinese are with their perfumes, which is kind of cool. But the thing is, the prices of the fragrances are, well, not everything. A lot of the fragrances are fairly inexpensive. Fairly inexpensive. I saw perfume shops everywhere. And the perfume shops had a lot of different Chinese brands. Some of them I was familiar with at the show, and some I wasn't. Like one of the fragrances I fell in love with at the show, which I bought. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Here it is. So it's called Doctor Away. And it's a 30 ml bottle. Doctor Away. What is the famous saying? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. So I bought a bottle of it because I fell in love with how authentic the apple was in this fragrance. So this brand was exhibiting, and I believe the brand is called MAEK. I think that's how you say it. And then there's another name right here, right there. But if there ever was a real authentic apple smell, this is it. This is like you're wearing apples. So you could buy perfumes at this show and they were discounted as well, which is great. But this was also not that expensive. It's not an expensive fragrance. It was fairly inexpensive. So here it is. So this brand was there. They had a nice booth. I will post about it on Instagram. So you can, if you follow me there. As soon as I got back, I've been extremely busy. So I haven't posted much. I've been posting on YouTube, but I got sick and all that good stuff. So I haven't posted much, but I will pick up posting again. But after this video airs, I'm also going to be heading to New York City soon. So I might be a little lagging still. But I do want to come back to this one. Again, this is SEPT NEUF Bahang. So unfortunately, I didn't remember the name of this brand, so I had to do a lot of research to find it because it's all in Chinese, obviously. So, but really, I think this bottle is gorgeous. I love it. And this, like I said, 3 of these bottles were less than $100. I think, in fact, it would have been probably like $80 with the conversion and everything. So it's it's a dupey fragrance, but this is going to make a nice gift. I bought one of these for my mom, and she loves Portrait of a Lady anyway, so there we go with that. So let's go back to the Doctor Away now. The presentation is awesome, I should say. But I don't like the fact that it is a bit dupey, sadly. But the presentation is great. Now let's go back to this apple fragrance, Doctor Away. What a fun fragrance. I smelled this at the show, and my guide was with me, and we spoke. They actually had me smell more of a hair and room spray. Then later I found out that it did come as a perfume. And once again, this was also not very expensive. It was like $40 maybe. They're pretty inexpensive. But to me, I've never smelled an apple fragrance like this anywhere. Whereas with the previous one, it smells like Portrait of a Lady. So it's something that I've smelled many times before. But this apple, oh my God, it is the juiciest, drippiest apple ever. Anybody know this brand? They had other fragrances. They had a lot of like other kind of products, perfumey, beauty, skincare like products, if I remember correctly. But this stood out so much. I instantly had to buy a bottle. In fact, a few friends also stumbled onto a store, and they were selling this brand, and I'm going to talk to you about another brand that I never got to visit at the show. And I saw that brand, and I bought that at the store. Some friends found this that weren't attending the show. So anyway, this is Doctor Away. What a fun fragrance. I wish they had a larger bottle because it's only a 30 ml. Whereas I love the presentation here. It's very modern and minimalistic. My kind of presentation. But I kind of like the presentation here also. It's very traditional and classic. Even the bottle is. All right, let me talk to you about that apple is so delicious. Behind all that juicy apple, there is something fuzzy and almost leathery behind it as well. So I bought a fragrance called... Sadly, I can't read it right now. I don't remember what it is, but... Hugging, that's what it is. This is a fragrance called Hugging by Soulvent. They were at the show, but I didn't visit them, unfortunately. There was just way too many to visit. And when I was at the perfume shop in Shanghai, I can't remember which perfume shop it was, but this was there. And I remember not visiting them, so I wanted to smell them, and I fell in love with this. It's a skin scent. It's a musk, clean, laundry-like, and a really cool-looking bottle. This was also not that expensive. Some of the fragrances are quite inexpensive, so... But, again, I was quite surprised with how much the Chinese appreciate perfumes in comparison to the... Well, I don't know 100... Well, this is actually... Wait. This is actually so soft and fluffy. I love that. It's interesting because I normally like really, really strong fragrances, intense, bold. But I also like the opposite. Sometimes I don't like in the middle. Because if I know I'm going to get skin scents or fluffy musks, clean musks, I know they're going to be skin scents. And I know what I'm going to experience. I'm not going to be like, oh, that fragrance is too weak. I wish it lasted longer. But I kind of know what I'm getting into, so I appreciate it that way. But whereas, with bold fragrances, I know they're going to be strong, long-lasting, super potent, major projection, and all that kind of stuff. But this says cotton flower, ambrette seed, milk, accord musk. This is really good. I wish I visited them, but I just didn't make it to everybody, unfortunately. So this is, here's my receipt, $238. I hope my credit card number is not there, shit. But it's $238, that's what I paid for it. That's in yuan. So that's what, like $50? Anyway, so that's that. Let me know if you guys like skin scents, fluffy musks, clean fragrances, all that good stuff. All right. So when I visited Grasse Perfume Week in south of France, in Grasse, I met a brand called AENTOS. So this is AENTOS's fragrances. So I ended up with a pillow spray from here, and I used on my trip. It was the most calming green forest-like smell that was awesome. It's kind of like every night I'd get to bed, I had to spray my pillow with it because it smelled so good. Whoa. So they also have, I didn't know this brand is pretty big in China. They have multiple stores. And these are the two fragrances, Cachet and Grounded. So this is a Chinese brand, but obviously it's a very Western looking. And on the back you have, well, on this one you have the Chinese writing there. They have their name on top of the foam cork material. All right, let's smell Grounded first, since it's the smaller one. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but I'm doing this in the form of a deep dive. Oh, I love that. It's very invigorating and green and earthy and woody and aromatic. Yeah, I remember liking this, but there's a spiciness behind it all as well. It's almost like you're at a spice market and somebody's squeezing some citruses. It has a kind of a herbal, medicinal, healing kind of a smell to it. So this is Grounded. I can totally see the name for this. Okay. All right, that one is Grounded. I'm gonna throw that on the floor. And then the next one is Cachet. If you've sampled any of these brands, guys, let me know. This one seems more herbal, but whereas the previous one had herbal touches, was more dried herbs, this one seems fresh herbs. Very aromatic, but also a bit dewy, wet, clean, maybe some citruses. Very wearable, easy to wear, I think. Not necessarily anything very challenging, because there's a few that might be challenging here coming up, but this is pretty easy, but very aromatic, spicy, herbal, green side of fragrances. So let me know if you are familiar with AENTOS. And that one goes in like that. All right, so I think this is a pretty popular Chinese brand called To Define. So I noticed that the brand has multiple collections, and I'll post about them on Instagram. But I actually kind of liked these bottles. These bottles also reminded me a little bit of the perfumes from the famous Italian candle maker, which I'm drawing a blank with right now. Well, my bottles say different names. And my... Wait, what? Yeah. My boxes say different names, but one of these is called Palpitate, and the other one is called Dolce for Niente. Anyway, so let's try Dolce for Niente. What do you think of these bottles? So this is very fresh and spicy. There's something about it that's giving me freshly showered, clean feel. It's almost like something you want to spray on after you've just showered to get that kind of clean feeling. So it's got a bit of a soapy vibe. It's lovely. It's clean. This is a bit more of a everyday kind of a fragrance. This fragrance is not super over the top intense. I think it's perfect as a everyday, like I said. Signature scent type, everyday in and out kind of wear. But yeah, that's Dolce for Niente. But the only thing is, my boxes say a different perfume name. I don't know why. But anyway, that's Dolce for Niente. And then we've got Palpitate. I remember I really enjoyed this one. Which one's sounding the best to you guys? This has got a grapefruity zing vibe with the skin. Wow, I really love this one. It's so energizing. It's got that whole vibe going for it that wakes up your senses in the morning if you need a little bit of burst of citrus sunshine. And I'm picking up grapefruit. It could be a different citrus because it's got that bitterness that grapefruit has and that zing, the bit of spiciness. So both of them are fresh. I would say the other one called Dolce for Niente is a bit more substantial, whereas Palpitate is more, I guess it's more fresh. So that's a brand called To Define. Wrong names on the boxes, sadly. The name of the box, it says Love Actually, which I believe is a perfume from this brand. So unfortunately, that's not what we got. Okay. All right, let's open up 3 fragrances from a brand called LAPOT Studio. And I fell in love with these fragrances. Not only did I fall in love with their bottles, but I also fell in love with the fragrances. And so I've got 3 of their fragrances here. Tobacco Lover. Let me show you. Gorgeous bottle. Kind of vintage-esque for sure. Tobacco Lover right there. Loved it. And then we've got Fly Me to the Moon. I can hear Frank Sinatra singing that song. Wait, was it Frank Sinatra? I'm sure he sang that song. It could be another crooner as well. So this is LAPOT Studio Fly Me to the Moon. What do you guys think of these bottles? They do look very vintage. I love these bottles. And then finally, we've got Plum Blossom. I didn't show you the back of the box. All right, let me just show you their discovery set as well. Any of these sounding great to you guys? Let me know, add a comment below. Well, these traveled from Shanghai to Beijing, although, interesting story. I took the train from Shanghai to Beijing, and I had these in a big duffel bag, and unfortunately security wouldn't let me take this on the train, so it had to be shipped, but I got them, thankfully. So they've gone through quite a bit of traveling, but it was interesting also. They took out all of the fragrances out of the duffel bag. It was a large travel duffel bag, and they packed it in 2 boxes. The neatest packing I have ever seen in my life. They were packed, like, amazingly. And so they came. I had to unpack the boxes because I couldn't take these in the boxes. I wanted to put them back in the duffel bag, and I brought them back. But so Shanghai to Beijing, I don't know how they were delivered, though. Maybe they took a car because they wouldn't go on the train. Maybe it was a flight, but to Beijing, and then from Beijing to San Francisco. But here's the discovery set. I won't go through the discovery set as I am going through the freight. Why is this not closing? Okay, they will close now. Okay, there it is. Oh, okay, there it goes. But the ones I'm going to go over are the fragrances that I have from the brand themselves, like Tobacco Lover. It's my kind of tobacco fragrance. I actually am obsessed with the whole presentation of this brand. I mean, sometimes you see a brand and things don't click. This brand clicked. I love the bottles and I love the fragrances. This is a sweet honey tobacco. I think there might be some similarities to Fumerie Turk, but I think Fumerie Turk is a bit more daring. And for me, the tobacco is a bit more leafy in this. This doesn't have leather like the Fumerie Turk does, but it's super honeyed. It's just like taking extremely dry, musty tobacco leaves, drizzling it with the syrupiest, sweetest honey. I wouldn't say it's extremely sweet, but it is sweet. It's really good. Really, really lovely. I love that. It's delicious, actually. I like that dirtiness, the mustiness of the leaf, like kind of leaf of the woodiness, the leafiness of the tobacco with the syrupy sweetness of the tobacco. I mean, the honey. So that's Tobacco Lover. Let's try Fly Me to the Moon next. I can't remember what this one was about, but I really enjoyed this one. Oh, it's a gourmand. Chocolate and coffee, maybe? Super yummy. There's some saffron notes coming in way behind there. But yum. That is yum. Fly me to the moon. Anyway, this is the brand that I really clicked with at this show. I think they had it all together. I mean, of course, I really loved AENTOS, and I really loved SOULVENT, which I experienced at the store, and then I really fell in love with Dr. Away. But as a brand that has the whole experience together, I think this brand did it. But I think personally, even though I love the bottles themselves, some people might find them to be a bit too vintage. What do you guys think? Let me know. Is it too vintage? Are the bottles a bit too feminine? This one is floral, and it's called Plum Blossom. But why am I getting cloves? There's a clovey like touch back there. So also giving me major vintage vibes. Whereas the previous two didn't, this one does because of the, almost like carnation actually, not cloves. It's giving me carnation vibes. Carnation, cloves, they're kind of connected as far as smells go. But still really gorgeous. I'm not getting the Plum Blossom though, unfortunately, but maybe it's meant to smell like it. It's quite warm. There's an underlying warmth under there. So that's Plum Blossom from LAPOT Studio. Right there. And as I said, I'm not going to go through the discovery set because that'll be too much. I will be going through discovery sets of other brands that I'm not going to smell a full fragrance from. So this is a brand called BIENBIANG. So it's a fragrance created by Pandan leaf. It says origin 99 mountains. Let me know if you're familiar with this brand. They're known for oud that grows on this island that's protected oud. This, on the other hand, is a very fresh green fragrance. Super invigorating. But very aromatic, a bit spicy, maybe lightly fruity as well. Lovely. It's a very happy fragrance, although you gotta like green. And that's the thing I noticed with China. A lot of green fragrances. Green is very, very popular. The two things that stood out for popularity are green fragrances and tea fragrances. Tea is extremely popular, but my experience, I thought when I went to that, but to wrap this up, this is a new brand. I think it's the island, it's based off of an island, and I forget the name of the island, but Hainan, here it is, right there. So, and also the notes are here. So it has bergamot, lemon, pandan leaf, green tea, fresh bamboo, musk, violet leaf. So I said I got fruitiness, and I'm getting that from the violet leaf, perhaps also from the bamboo. And the pandan leaf and the green tea are giving the greenness. And of course, it's very citrusy and fresh. So yeah, it's a beautiful fragrance. BIENBIANG. But going back to my time in China rather than the fragrances, I noticed, I thought I'm a coffee addict, obviously. I've mentioned all the time. I thought I was going to have a difficult time finding good coffee. I was so wrong about China and coffee. There are so many coffee shops and really, really good ones, like really good ones, including Peet's. Peet's Coffee is my favorite in the States, but in China, it's like 1,000 times better with quality. I was shocked. They don't do it justice here. Over there, it's like an artisanal coffee shop, and they focus really, really extensively on how they do the coffee, how they do the milk inside the coffee. I was shocked at how good. But it's not just Peet's. I had M Stand, I had Manor Coffee, Percent Coffee, so many different. I even had the Luckin coffee, which wasn't my favorite, unfortunately. But there's a lot of coffee in China, and I was shocked, and I was happy because I love coffee, and I should also say the coffee was a lot better than the coffee I get in France and Italy. Go figure that out. Yeah. I think when it comes to France and Italy, they're pretty traditional with the way they do their coffee. And here in the States, we have these like really high-end coffee shops. But China has taken that high-end coffee shop concept to the next level. And a lot of their coffee shops are like that. Whereas here, you have to seek those out. But there, it's like every corner, there's an amazing coffee shop. So that was awesome. But I did notice that there's a lot of tea fragrances and a lot of, like, a brand does a whole entire lot of tea fragrances in different directions. So tea fragrances are popular, which kind of makes sense. But let's go to a Western brand. I'm going to quickly pause here. All right, I'm going to go to a brand called ARCHETYPE with two fragrances, Elio and Noé, or Noé. So this is not a Chinese brand, obviously. This was one of the brands that was exhibiting with NEUF. So NEUF brought, 15 or 10 brands, and they had a section for themselves. And obviously they were all Western brands there, maybe, I think. So let's try Elio next. I don't know why this smells like tea. Is it because I'm talking about tea? But I was talking more about coffee. So this should smell like coffee, but it smells like tea. It's very clean and green and herbal and aromatic and very, very fresh and spicy. It's got a soothing, comforting vibe about it, which is why I'm getting that tea kind of vibe. I think behind there's some musks as well. Behind all of the notes I mentioned. That's pleasant. So that is Elio. Who's familiar with this brand? I can't remember where they're from, but the next one is, well, it says Paris, Archetype Paris. Noé. Let me know if you're familiar with this brand or any of the brands I've spoken about so far. This one smells very gray to me. It's a bit dusty, powdery. There's a metallic quality about it, but very, very powdery. I like the first one a little bit more than this. I think there's some flowers behind everything that I'm smelling. Yeah, this is my first experience with this brand, Archetype. Noé, or No. All right, so there's a brand that apparently is very popular in China called Documents. So they weren't exhibiting, and I decided to buy a bottle from the brand because they had stores all over China. I went to one store in Shanghai and also another store in Beijing, but I bought this in China, and I actually bought their limited edition fragrance. They gave me a gift which I cannot find here. I don't know where it is, but I don't know the name, sadly. Oh, it's called Snake. So this is a limited edition, and they said that once they run out, they will no longer have it, which I wanted to take advantage of that situation. And let me show you Documents. Yeah, again, this was not a brand that was exhibiting, but seems to be a very hyped brand. This was very, very expensive. I don't know why I did it, but I kind of wanted something. It's an Extrait de Parfum with a beautiful cap. It got a feel of stone of some kind. It's great. I think probably it's magnetic also, but probably I'm paying for presentation here and the cap. But look at the sprayer. So Documents, who's got experience with this brand? Is this supposed, yeah, this is supposed to come off because it's covering the, all right, let me give you my thoughts on Snake. Whoa. I'm trying to take the whole thing off, but it's not coming off. Either way, I'll leave that on there. I wore this and I really loved the way it smelled on me. But the other thing is, something in here reminds me of something I've smelled. It's deep and rich, creamy and ambery, but also menthol, medicinal at the same time. What I like about it is it's got a bit of a, like a Vicks Vapo Rub-like quality to it, but sweetened up with something sweet. I love that. To me, this smells pretty Western, and everything I've smelled so far on camera is very Western. But that is a limited edition fragrance called Snake. That's good. I don't know who created this, but that's another thing. A lot of these perfumes were created by famous, well-known perfumers. Like Julian Rascanet was at the show. I kept seeing, what's his name? The perfumer for Byredo there. He was there. I saw him like 2 or 3 days in a row. I don't know him personally, but I think he works with Robertet. He's at Robertet. But this fragrance is awesome. This is Documents Extrait de Parfum Concentration of Snake, limited edition. But again, as I said, they weren't presenting at the show, so they were not at the show. I bought it at a store. Okay, let's try fragrances from a brand called BARRIO. Chaos. Look at the presentation. Comes off. There's Chaos by BARRIO. Honestly, these are not very expensive, guys. Oops, that's the wrong kind of strip. The fragrances of BARRIO were not that expensive. Also, I noticed there's a lot of small bottles. This is just a very clean, almost tea-like, clean herbal freshness, but super soft and musky. I think the word chaos, the name chaos, maybe doesn't fit the name of the fragrance because there's a calming quality about it, and I associate chaos with not being calm. It's a bit tart. Maybe there's a bit of rose in there also, and slight candied. But that's BARRIO Chaos. But we have something else here. Is this also Chaos? It's a... Yeah, I think this might be another little Chaos. Whoa, what's this? Oh. This kind of looks like... What is this? Solid perfume. With a little mirror. Interesting. And then from BARRIO, we also have a discovery set, which... Wait. No, it's also another form of chaos. Oh, it's a mini. All right, that's Chaos from BARRIO. All right, let's try. All right, we have a fragrance from a brand called SW19. It's called Midnight. Now, this is a Korean brand, I believe. Yeah, definitely, from what I remember. I'm having a hard time opening these up. All right, here we go. Here's Midnight. You've got the visual back there as well of Midnight. Journey to the moments through the scents that bring you back to your cherished times. Have you sampled these fragrances before, guys? Those of you that live in either China or Korea, have you sampled these fragrances? This does have that kind of a midnight feeling when everything is calm and quiet and dark. It's a bit dark and foggy, cold and not crisp as much, but maybe a bit dampness in the air. I can totally see Midnight here. beautiful. It's to me, it's acting a bit like, oh, here we go. That's the visual. It's acting a bit personal, like a musky skin scent type of a fragrance, but very calming. So that is SW19 with Midnight. This brand had quite a few fragrances on display, so they had quite a bit of fragrances that they've been around for a while. I think they're on the path to expansion is what I'm trying to say. All right, the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is a Westerner living in China has come up with these very conceptual fragrances. And it was like when you walked into their space, their booth, you were walking into a different world. So I think he's an Italian perfumer living in China and has created 3 different fragrances. It's Nel Inconcho, Nel Inconcho, and this is called Pendulous, and it's referring to the pendulum swing. This was a incensey, smoky fragrance with musks and ambroxan, and it's a beautiful bottle. I will post about it on Instagram, so go check out some of the posts, but look at this most awesome bottle. Really, really beautiful. Nel Inconcho. I'm afraid to break this, but a cute bottle, round. I really love this one. I think incense on its own kind of can get cold and boring. I've smelled plenty of it, especially at church growing up in a Christian Orthodox family. But this one, I think also he's got like irisy, orrisy notes here, because even though it's got a lot of the musky notes, there's a lot of like powdery touches as well, which kind of balances out the incense and makes it much more accessible, enjoyable. But the booth was awesome, and these bottles were really, really cool. Let me know if you guys have heard about the brand. Okay. This is another Korean brand, La Persona. This is LPO2. Yeah, I should have brought my slicer, but sadly it's put away right now. But here we have La Persona. Beautiful imagery, I think. And that's the presentation. And that's the bottle. You know, as I walked into the show for the first time, I walked in through the side door. The first booth I saw was Born to Stand Out. They had a huge, huge booth. I'll post about it. You can go and check out my Instagram posts. This to me seems kind of fresh and citrusy. But there's some kind of warmth under there. It almost gives me like a lemon rind experience, but creamy, like it's got something creamy mashed over it. That is La Persona LPO2. Anyway, it comes with a little envelope. So that is another Korean brand. This is an eau de parfum. Beautiful presentation, I think. So I think this is a German brand, but I believe she is a perfumer, up-and-coming perfumer at Givaudan in Paris. So it's called Scentception, Smell Consciously. I think she went to a SIPCA. I've been seeing her at the various shows, but never exhibiting. And she was also part of the NEUF group of brands. And the NEUF group of brands had, you know, brands that were established or brands that were brand new like this one. And this is quite tight, so I'm having a bit of a challenge getting this all out. Huh, interesting. So I think it's called Listen. But there are samples inside. Wow, this is, I'm gonna pause this. Okay, here's the presentation. This is the bottle. And there are 4 samples inside. 2 fell out like that. These might be samples of her other fragrances. Yeah, I think so. This one is half empty, sadly. All right, let's listen to, well, let's smell Listen. I was gonna say, let's listen to something. And that's what it's called, Listen. Interesting bottle, look at the bottom. Weird. Weirdly interesting. I haven't seen a bottle that has that kind of gray stuff under there. It's almost like a stopper from the bottom. Weird. I think this has pear. I like it. It's fresh and fruity, but not like girly fruity. It's quite unisex, but it's pretty easy to wear. It's not anything like over the top intense. Just quite pleasant. Anyway, that is Listen from Scentception. There's a lot of names here, so Heartbeat of Germany, Scentception, Smell Consciously. And then, of course, this is Listen. All right, guys, we have a few more brands left. Just 3, I think. Yeah. One has several fragrances, but first one I'm going to talk to you about is Haute. So I met these folks in Grasse Perfume Week also, which was taking place last June and July, end of June, July. And they were also exhibiting at Shanghai, NOTES Shanghai. So very nice, I think, sister and brother. Really beautiful family. But their fragrances were quite medicinal. Here's one of the bottles here. There's the name. Sadly, I don't know the name of this fragrance and I can't translate it. Anybody able to translate that? I believe this is one of their newer fragrances, but really beautiful cap and presentation. I think a lot of their fragrances seemed very traditional and also very herbal and medicinal. But this one, to me, starts off quite potent with like medicinal herbs and then develops into something bright and green smelling, which is quite enjoyable. But when you smell this fragrance, it's quite deep. Like there's intensity about it and thick. There's a denseness about it. But it's very unique that it starts off kind of in that medicinal side and then develops into something a bit brighter, much more enjoyable. Because sometimes I find medicinal fragrances to be a bit challenging, but in the end, it's this one's quite enjoyable, especially since also I feel like there's a, is it molasses or something licoricey molassesy is happening behind it all. So it's this very interesting combo of the medicinal side, the green side, and also like a, almost like you're mixing like a flour and dough together and you're adding something molassesy, but very dark, maybe slight smoky, almost licoricey molasses to it. So that is Utis. Right there. Again, let me know if you are familiar with any of these fragrances. Beautiful presentation, though. I like this whole presentation. It's just beautiful. And then we've got something, I don't think this is a fragrance. I believe it's a Chinese medicine fragrance candle. Once again, same brand. Let's open it up and show you. I do want to say what it says. Primordial Pureness Series, Oriental Tradition, Chinese Medicine Fragrance Candle. Wow, I could smell the smell. Whew. That's pretty, yeah, that's really intense. But beautiful presentation, if I can get it out. Wow, it's kind of stuck in there. I'll have to... So this is the cap. Anyway, just so you guys get an idea a little bit. All right, so that's Utis and two of their products for you. And then second to the last brand, one of my favorite brand discoveries, but I also discovered them at Gross Perfume Week. At NOTES Shanghai, they had a most amazing display, which what I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video is I'm going to cut to a video I shot of the entire setup. I shot it very early before there were a lot of people at the show, and it's a walkway through the whole entire space. So you'll see all the different booths and everything. That'll be after the outro. You can watch that. But the Zufu fragrance had a really great display or setup, booth at the show here. But I met them in Gross Perfume Week. So, whereas I already knew them from there. But they had some really great fragrances and also really awesome bottles. The first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is called Throne. Great presentation. They seem to have, they know what they've been around for a while is what I'm trying to say. But look at the way this box opens up. Cool, huh? So this is the bottle, Throne. These are not that big, so there's not a lot of juice. It's 15 ml. I love these bottles. Kind of look like bamboo, of course. This is a grapefruit balm. Very zingy, spicy, peppery a little bit as well. So good. Very, very juicy and zingy. Throne. All right, so next we're gonna do Nana. Let me know if you guys have experience with this brand. So I do want to say it's a little bit of a complaint, but I had a hard time accessing YouTube in China. So it's luck that I was able to air videos while I was in China, but it was challenging when I first got there. I figured out a way to do it though. But once again, I love the way that lifts up. That is so cool. It's almost like a matchbox because this comes open also. Oh, look at that. The name of the brand is there. So this is Nana. That first one was so beautifully zingy. Ooh. Wow. So, oh my God, this reminds me of something I remember from the early 90s from this brand. Oh God, what's the name of that brand? That's good though. Kind of spicy, woody, maybe amber in the base, some light sweetness. It's not reminding me 100% of the fragrance I'm thinking of, but, and I'm drawing a blank with the name. It was a designer that hasn't really launched a lot of fragrances. Almost had it. They had one fragrance from the early 90s that I really, really loved. I can't find the bottles anymore. Then I believe like within the last 5 years, they launched 4 fragrances. What's the name? That's really great. So this is Nana. To me, it doesn't really smell like Nana, if that's referring to a female relative, but I love the way that smells. It is very autumnal though too. This photo on this box. Whoa. This photo on the box is very autumnal. All right, we've got Donglin Temple. Okay, now I remember the fragrance. The very first Joseph Aboud fragrance in that brown bottle. Those of you that are probably younger will not know that. Joseph Aboud was a men's clothing designer, and they pretty much only had one fragrance. I think for men, I think it's what it's called. It was launched in the early 90s. Nana kind of smells like it. It's really good. I'll talk about that. So this is Donglin Temple. I love that. Anyway. Beautiful white flowers, but kind of a golden sweetness all behind it as well. Really beautifully created. I think the fragrances are very wearable and maybe on the mass appealing side, but I think Nana kind of has a, a bit of a niche streak to it. But yeah, this one's on the feminine side, but not necessarily uber feminine. there's a familiar smell about this one as well. I really love this brand. I think they've done a great job with the fragrances. All right, one more fragrance left, and then I'm going to end the video with something that's not perfume related, but is flavor related. So this one is, I'm not really sure what this one is. We'll find out when we open it. Same brand, Zufu fragrance. Oh, this one's a bit challenging. I think that this is a limited edition. Look at that. Beautiful presentation. Let's look at it one more time without that white thing on top. Well, what do you guys think of this presentation? This looks like it's inspired by architecture. Let me take this one off. All right, let's smell it. This is, I can't make that out, sadly. Anyway, it's right there. I'll put the name in the info box. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is good. This is this reminds me of jasmine tea. Like, I've drunk a lot of jasmine tea when I go to Chinese restaurants or some other Asian restaurants, and this is like a very clean, slightly soapy jasmine. That's beautiful. But what is the name? It's not focusing in it for me to read it, but I'll put the info in the box. And it's not even on the bottom. Yeah, this collection is gorgeous. I do have a discovery set as well, which I won't dig into, but that's a really great fragrance collection from Zufu. They had a nice booth at the Notes Shanghai. All right, and then last but not least, I've got this beautiful collection of chocolate from, the brand is L'Atelier MOBIUS. You guys familiar with him? He's a young perfumer. So these are chocolates. I'm going to show you these chocolates. It's a collab with Nebo Bean to Bar chocolate. So he had fragrances there, and also we got to taste the chocolates. Very interesting chocolates, I should say. One of them I didn't care for because it had a very interesting flavor. I'll tell you in a minute. But here are the chocolates. Really high-end chocolates. Let's see if one of them is here. This is... Okay, it doesn't really say what these chocolates are. But one of them sadly had egg yolk flavor, which didn't really resonate very well with me. But there were a few that I really, really liked. They had a perfumey kind of, flavor to them. So they were enhanced with spices and strong characteristics. Well, maybe they have them here. Yeah, they are. Okay, here they are. So, passion chypre, passion fruit, yuzu, oak moss. That's in the chocolate. Epices oriental, oriental spices and mango. Once upon a time, asparagus, basil, and sazerac. Jardin d'automne, gardenia, green tomato, olive oil. I don't know where the egg yolk is. Soufflé violette, shiso, mint, and orange blossom. Narcisse imaginaire, jasmine, white tea, gluttonous rice aroma. So those are the different chocolates. Anyway, that's all that I have for you here. Again, as I said, please go catch the content I post on Instagram. I'm going to do 4 posts there, and I will do a post about each day. So I was there for 4 days, and I really enjoyed my time there, really. But I think China was a little challenging because, you know, Instagram was difficult to access without a VPN. YouTube, really difficult, and I was accessing it with my VPN, but it was draining my SIM card. I was buying like a Western SIM card. It just drained it like right away, so my phone wasn't connecting until I, you know, hotspot somebody else's phone, and then I was able to fill it up. But once I got used to it, I kind of was able to do it, but it was challenging. Like Wi-Fi's in hotels were not allowing you to access YouTube, and usually when I'm at the hotel is when I do all my work on my YouTube channel when I'm traveling. So that was the challenging part. But the overall experience with the visit to China and the show was amazing. I think everybody there was amazing. I'm surprised how much the Chinese really love fragrances, much more than Japan. But although I've never been to a Japanese perfume show, and I don't even know if it exists, I went to 1 or 2 perfume stores in Japan, and they seemed like people were into it. But I didn't run into a lot of stores in Japan as much as I ran into China. Like it was just a night and day difference with the quantity of stores and the quantity of brands, and you know, people's excitement for the fragrances was really, really amazing to see. Like at the show, first day was fine, second day was also fine, but third and fourth days, packed to the max. People were there really into the fragrances, really enjoying the brands and everything. Anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments about anything I discussed today, please let me know. I was going to smell some of these samples, but I decided not to. It's going to take a long time, and there's a lot of samples, which this could be like a 4-hour video, and I don't know if I have enough space on the camera. But I'll post about some of my brand discoveries that I didn't talk about here on the pages, on the posts on Instagram. And as I said, stay around after the outro, and it'll be a walk through the whole entire show before a lot of people have actually come inside the show. So that'll be a separate portion right after the outro. But thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.